Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. Today it is Monday, November 8th, 2021. And on today's show, a few items. CBA is coming up. The expiration of the current CBA is coming up in Major League Baseball. We'll touch on that and what might come of that. Qualifying offers have been offered out to 14 players. We'll go over who they are. And also, we're going to start our exit interviews today for the National. Three players from last year's Nats team. We'll talk about them. They're bullpen guys. Could they come back? And so stay tuned for that. That should be fun at the end of the show. All right, let's get to it.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, let's get into it. But before we do, I'll let you guys know we really are trying to start on YouTube getting this thing going. So if you guys, I know a lot of you all listen on the audio side of things on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can find us on YouTube as well now. Locked On Nationals will have content. And basically all of the shows moving forward will be through YouTube as well as on the audio platforms as well. But go and give us a follow on YouTube, subscribe, and then also interactive videos. It helps get me ideas, and it's always nice during the off season to have that going on. All right, so the off season feels like it has officially started because last week was a World Series, obviously, but the parade happened and the weekend happened, and we've turned the corner now because of some of the news. There's a lot of free agency news happening right now, and a lot of lists about who could be going where. But to me, I don't know if we can really focus on free agency just yet. I don't know if that's really where our focus should be because right now the CBA is looming over everything in Major League Baseball. The current collective bargaining agreement is scheduled to expire at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on December 1st. And I know there's been so much talk and consternation about this, and it feels like we're heading towards a work stoppage. There's been some really good reporting by Ken Rosenthal over at The Athletic. It's been him and also Evan Drellich as well, both those at The Athletic. There's been some good work done off the back of that by the folks over at CBS Sports as well. And so for those of you all who are kind of new to the conversation or, not really paying attention to the CBA, I don't blame you. It's boring. It's not the most fun information out there, but it's important because it could prevent us from having baseball, or it's going to shape the way at least next year's baseball season could look like. It could be a regular one. If things don't go well, which, I think after the COVID year and the COVID conversations that both sides have, I think there's a lot of skepticism amongst fans and probably rightfully placed about, the way in which this could go. But, it's going to shape how next season goes. And the latest reporting, this is as of November 5th by Ken Rosenthal and Evan Drellich, says that the players union and the players have made an offer to the owners. And there has been some progress, Ken has said, on the non-money side of things. But, I mean, this really is going to come down to money. Excuse the birds outside. I let the dog out during the show to make sure he doesn't disrupt the program. So if you're a bird or two, don't mind that. But yeah, I mean, that's the big thing here, right? Is that the money is what it's going to come down to. And in that realm, there are a few really important things. Number one, the players want the minimum salary to be boosted. That's something that they really want across the board. Number two, they want arbitration to come up earlier. So players being able to kind of decide what their salaries are, have more say in that earlier. And they want changes in service time. And as somebody, I follow a bunch of different sports. I'm sure a lot of you all do. To me, that's really rational because right now the players get absolutely, I mean, the NFL is the worst. The players are, for a league that makes that much money, the players, to be that kind of system where the contracts are, not always guaranteed and they can cut you pretty easily. There's not much job security in the NFL. And baseball, there's not much either. And the problem I have is so look at the NBA, right? Anthony Davis at the age of 22, a lot of guys at the age of 22 are getting contract extensions, right? DeAndre Ayton was in college and I was in college. I'm 24 right now. And he is trying to haggle right now for his second contract. You actually saw this offseason. a lot of those young Suns players signed extensions. And I know it does happen sometimes in Major League Baseball. We saw that happen with Fernando Tatis Jr., but most of the time, guys aren't getting contract extensions until they're in their late 20s. For example, Francisco Lindor, is upper 20s, and he signed his last year. For an NBA player, you'd be on your third contract by then. You'd be a rookie deal, your second contract, and you definitely probably, if you're one of the top players, better players in the league, you're going to be on your third contract. And I know he got paid, but that's the problem is, we're going to talk about a couple guys later on in this show, like arbitration eligible Austin Voth, Wander Suero, and Kyle Finnegan are all 30. They're all 30-year-olds. And those guys are going to go to arbitration. There's no, you'd think at 30, at that point, you'd probably have a bit more ability to have some flexibility with your career, but those guys don't. They don't. And so that is something that is going to be adjusted. Now, what it looks like, I'm not smart enough to know exactly what it's going to look like. And baseball, out of all the sports, in my opinion, has the most complicated financial systems. The way things work with whether it be the Rule 5 draft, whether it be with arbitration, how these things work and service time and all of those things. It's a pretty diluted. It's a very diluted system, and so it's going to be a fight, in my opinion, from the word go. It already has been. And I think also one thing the players want is they want that salary floor raised, right? They want that salary floor raised because that gives ownership more. Well, they want the floor raised because you have to meet that certain threshold, right? If the salary floor is $100 million, you must pay out $100 million to players. If you don't, it gets allocated. I believe that's the way it works, at least in the NBA. I'd assume it's the same way too. The economic proposal the league made was $100 million that MLB made, Major League Baseball. If I said the MLB, I'm sorry. Do you folks care about that? MLB said it wanted a $100 million salary floor and a $180 million luxury tax threshold. This luxury tax threshold this year is $210 million. So that means they want to come down, and they might use that COVID excuse as a reason why, but that's kind of the numbers that we're seeing that we're playing with right now. Major League Baseball's Players Association hasn't been very good either at kind of getting what they've wanted. So I don't know. I mean, are they going to hold firm? I think now might be the time to do it. They're scheduled to meet next week. They're going to go over a lot of these things, and knowing these two parties, I think there's not a lot of hope right now. But that's kind of where we're at. That's what the players want. Obviously, doesn't need a hitter or something that all the fans want, unless you're a communist and you want to keep that damn pitchers hitting thing. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys are watching during the World Series a couple times though. It's like Framber Valdez, man. It's not his fault. He shouldn't be up there handling the bat. Like the guy should not be. Zach Greinke, no need for it. He hadn't batted in years, right? There's no need for those guys to be hitting. I'm not going to a World Series. I'm not watching the World Series. Two best teams all year fight for a championship. I don't want Ian Anderson at the plate deciding anything. It's just not how the league should be. And also, it gets more guys jobs and it's more fun roster flexibility, if you will, moving forward. So that's something to watch there. Obviously, it's one of the big things. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, I will talk about the guys who got some qualifying offers extended to them and kind of what are the obvious ones that we'll take and which ones will leave it on the table. But first, a word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. You guys know this tale as old as time, right? You got the one device for the live game. You got the TV on whatever. You got your computer for your favorite shows, and then maybe the iPad for your, best friends login for the HBO Max, whatever it is you want to use. Well, all of that can be a thing of the past now with DirecTV Stream. You guys can get your TV together now. It means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directvstream.com. That's directvstream.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. All right. So we had qualifying offers that were extended, and here they are. I'm going to go through them now. 14 of them. And this is from MLB Trade Rumors is where I'm reading from. And let's see. As teams they had to make their decisions by 4 p.m. Central Time yesterday. So here are the players that were issued the 1-year, $18.4 million qualifying offer. Brandon Belt from the Giants, Nick Castellanos from the Reds, Michael Conforto from the Mets, Carlos Correa from the Astros, Freddie Freeman from the Braves, Raisel Iglesias from the Angels, Robbie Ray from the Blue Jays, Eduardo Rodriguez from the Red Sox, Corey Seager from the Dodgers, Marcus Semien from the Blue Jays, Trevor Story from the Rockies, Noah Syndergaard from the Mets, Chris Taylor from the Dodgers, Justin Verlander from the Astros. So let's start with the guys that I think should take the qualifying offer. At least this is just the best of my thought process and kind of knowledge here. I believe Noah Syndergaard is 110% a guy who should take it, right? 1 year, 18.4. It's a fair salary. Guy's coming back from injury, right? So a lot of question marks there, and that kind of makes sure, that's sure it'll make sure basically that things are kind of fair on both sides, right? The Mets take a 1 year chance. He has the 1 year to get back on his feet and see where he is after that. And also, I think he does like being in New York. Another pitcher, Justin Verlander should 110% take that qualifying offer, man. I mean, for a guy at his age, coming off the injuries that he has had, I don't think there's any reason that he should. I mean, is somebody going to go out there and give this guy at age 38 a 2 year contract, right? Is that a guy that we think that should be going out there and doing it? And look, I know he's been really effective at that age, right? You think about his 2019 season where he was, a guy who won the Cy Young at that age, was absolutely nuts. But didn't pitch last year, and obviously had, a shortened 2020 season, had surgery, and it didn't pitch this year, and now to be out of the game for a while. Like will somebody give him the 2 years, $40 million that he wants, or 2 years? I mean, hell, he should take. If somebody offers him 2 for 25, you take that obviously because it's worth more than the 1 for 18. But because also if he pitches well during the 1 year, I don't think anybody's going to be giving him a 2 or 3 year contract at 39. So it's important for him now to kind of, I think, lock that up, right? It's important for him to either take that money or see if he can get a better deal. But I think that we're going to see him take it. He is going to be 39 by the time the season starts. So if he played out the qualifying offer, took it, and then tried to get a deal after that, he would be signing on at the age of 40 for 2 more years after, however many years it will be after that. And I don't know if somebody's in the business of getting him a long-term extension. I think the most you'd see is a 2 year deal. But I think that's a deal that makes a lot of sense for both parties, unless he really thinks he can get 2 years. That's just my thoughts on that. I mean, I think the rest of these guys on this list, right, you see is declining it. Belt's going to get a multi-year deal, I would think, right? I mean, unless I could be off there, but you'd think a guy like Brandon Belt is going to get himself, a longer-term deal than that. He's just 33 years old, right? So he gets more financial security. He plays first base. It's not like it's a position, where you got to be, super athletic forever. Nick Castellanos, no. Conforto is going to be a no. Correa's obviously no. Freeman's a no. Iglesias, I can't speak to that. I'm not 110% sure. Robbie Ray, you'd think not. Eduardo Rodriguez, interesting. I think not. I think he'd get a longer-term deal elsewhere. Corey's, but I mean, he's at the age where he could actually bet on himself. He's not too old, so he could. Corey Seager's a no. Semien's a no. Story's a no. Chris Taylor's also a no. So I think at most you see like 2 of these guys take these qualifying offers. But that'd be the most that I could see happening. And also one thing that kind of ties back into our conversation about about the MLB CBA. I know we get all excited about free agency, but like it's going to stall. I mean, I think with the uncertainty about the financial structures moving forward, there's no real reason for either party to like come to any kind of agreement. I mean, if we're going to have some fundamental changes, and I'm not sure if we're going to get fundamental, but if there are some systemic changes in the way it kind of business is done either way, I don't know if you want to tie yourself to a long-term contract anyway, if things change at all, depending on what team you are. Because if that luxury tax ceiling changes at all, if you're a team up against it, like the Dodgers, what are your thoughts on signing Clayton Kershaw and Max Scherzer and the dollar amount? That calculus changes for teams like that. So I know it's fun to do the whole free agency thing. I don't think we're going to see much movement at all on the big fish. I really don't think we're going to see much movement with those guys, considering all the things that have to get taken care of before we can really hit that. All right, one more word from our sponsors, and then we will take a look and do our exit interviews with 3 guys in the bullpen this year. Today's show is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to built.com today. That's built.com. And you guys can find a bunch of delicious flavors there right now. I know Thanksgiving time's coming. It's a time where we eat a lot of food. Built bars are kind of the perfect substitute for like a slice of pie. A slice of pie is at least 300 calories, my friends. That's on the low end, honestly. If you guys have a Built bar, they're delicious. They're filling. They're sweet. They're really tasty. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and plenty of protein too. So it's like if you have a piece of pie on Friday morning, after Thanksgiving, that's not great for you. You have a Built bar and go for a run, and you could be fine. Have that tasty treat, but also be fueling your body for a workout as well. So go to built.com today. It's built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15, 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 and you guys will get 15% off on your first order at built.com. All right, my friends, let's get into these exit interviews. So exit interview basically being like, hey, the season's over, right? Let's take a look at what this guy did and what do we think moving forward. We're going to take guys that either will or could be part of this team as we kind of approach things. But Blake Finney tweeted this on October 11th from Federal Baseball. It's the list of guys who this is MLB Trade Rumors list of the arbitration projections. So Soto, Bell, Ross, Fetty, Robles, Voth, Suero, Stevenson, Harper, and Rainey are the guys that are on that list. Today we're going to focus on Kyle Finnegan. We're going to focus on Austin Voth and then Wander Suero. So let's do Kyle Finnegan first. All right. Kyle Finnegan is 30. He's under team control. I don't believe he's actually arbitration eligible this year, which is pretty crazy to think about. He is a guy at the age of 30 that they're going to have. He's arbitration eligible next year. So this is a guy who's 30 who's we know for a fact is going to be part of the bullpen next year. He had a strong year and then was forced into a role that really wasn't, it really seemed a lot of times he wasn't totally comfortable with. But when the Nats made all those trades, i.e. the bullpen guys, when there's that kind of exodus and there's no Will Harris there, this guy in Kyle Finnegan ends up having to take that workload and step up and become that ninth inning guy. And that just was not his best role. But he did have a really strong year, 68 appearances, 3.55 ERA. He was really strong in the middle sector of the year, if you will. He had a 3.52 ERA, a 3.75 ERA in May, and then 3.52 in the month of June, 1.54 in July, 0.90 in 10 innings of work in the month of August. He had a stretch there, about a 2-month stretch where it was July and August, where he threw about 22 innings, and the ERA is around 1. I mean, he was really effective for the Nationals, and obviously a bad last month. October was not good to him, but this is not a guy who's used to being in that role, and so September was not very good to him. But I think as a pitcher, as a guy, it's under team control, definitely going to have a part of this bullpen next year. This is not the year where the Nats kind of go all out on the bullpen. I don't think it makes a lot of sense, but they do have to bring in a lot of help. And I do think Kyle Finnegan's a guy who can be a 7th, 8th, or 9th inning guy. No, not 9th. He's a later inning guy. I think he's a 7th or 8th inning guy. I think we'll get to Mason Thompson here in a later date, but I do think in terms of guys who have given a lot of innings, and I'm doing this by guys who gave the most innings, like this is somebody that pretty clearly the Nationals made the right choice in getting him on the squad. And this is a guy that, for my money, is somebody that's going to be a part of the back part of the bullpen next year. And I don't think the Nats are going to go out and splurge on a guy like an Aaron Loop. I just don't see that happening. We're going to count Paulo as a starting pitcher because of what he did this year, but the next guy on the list that we should talk about is going to be Austin Voth. So Nats fans are familiar with Austin Voth. He had a really good start to the year. He had a really bad end of the year. Finishes the year 4-1 record, 5.34 ERA. But you go back and you look through the time, and I was talking about this during the season. I was like, wow, Austin Voth, man, the bullpen, this is just what he needed. April, 8 innings, 2.08. In May, 16 innings, 2.81. In June, 3.18. And then in July, it was a 15.43. And then in September, it was a 9.58. So a lot of mixed results from Austin Voth. And this is a guy that I think the Nationals keep because he's going to be cheap, a guy who can eat some innings, a guy that, if they need a guy to make the spot start, he can do that as well too. He fits that mold. He fits that role. I see the Nationals hanging on to him as they move forward. But this is not a guy who's, I mean, who knows? You guys know I always say this all the time. Relief pitching is kind of a year-to-year prospect. It's kind of a year-to-year type endeavor, right? It's kind of a thing that switches rather often. And guys, like a Luke Jackson can suck one year, then come back and be really good the next year. We see that kind of stuff happen constantly in the relief pitching world. Could it happen for him? Yeah. Does it feel like it's going to? At this point, no. At this point, not. But does not mean he can't have a role. But this is not a guy the Nationals are going to be depending on as a full-time starter, hopefully, and not a guy that I think you see as a back-end bullpen guy. This is a guy who's going to eat some innings for you in the middle. And at 30 years old, at a estimation around $1 million for his arbitration, I think it's a good deal. I think it's the right place. Last guy, Wander Suero. Nats fans, I think I've personally seen enough of Wander Suero. To me, I'm not sure how Nats fans out there feel. Obviously, major struggles this season for him in a lot of departments, right? This is a guy that got sent down to AAA that would just have, he's having blow up innings all the time, finished his year with a 6.33 ERA, did come back towards the back end of the season in September with a 3.52 ERA in there, but he had a really bad August, and that's when he gets sent down. 9.28 in the month of July, 4.05, which is fine in the month of June. So this is a guy that started off the year pretty decent, and then it just got worse. And we know Davey loves to use Wander Suero a lot. It's not a guy I'm investing in next year. It's just not a guy. I know he's got the size and the ability, and 6'4", 216. It's a big dude. It's just not a guy that's had a consistent career with the Nationals. Not a guy I feel like a lot of people, depend on, right? I know that he was good in 2020 with 3.08 ERA in 2020 in his 22 appearances. And then 78 appearances, 4.54, 19. And then 2018, 3.59. But it feels like this year that he was pretty far away from being that guy. So this is not a guy I'm going to invest like $900K in. I don't know if it's really worth that. Maybe it is. The Nats just want to restock that pen, but that's the place they have to improve. And guys like that, it can't just be bringing them back, in my opinion. I think I've seen enough of Wander Suero as a Washington National. All right, more guys in the bullpen coming up this week, and we'll have more news for you, obviously, on the CBA and things like that, free agency as it comes along. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at @LO_Nationals. You can follow me at @JoshNeighbors_. Also, make sure that you guys go and check us out on YouTube. Make sure you guys just type in Locked On Nationals and give us a subscription there. All right, until next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.